The first time I realized the pantry door wouldn't budge, I honestly wondered if age had finally started playing tricks on me. At 76, a man learns to expect a few misfires in memory, names slipping away, misplaced glasses, the usual humiliations of time. But I wasn't imagining this. Not a chance. Because no amount of aging, no matter how stubborn, could ever make me forget where the Oreos lived. My name is Harold, though everyone insists on calling me Grandpa Harold, as if the prefix grants them ownership of my decisions. I'm a retired machinist, widower, and apparently, according to my daughter-in-law Claire, a fragile relic incapable of managing my own digestive system. That at least is the impression I got when I discovered she had locked the pantry in my own house. Locked it, as if I were a toddler prone to climbing inside and getting stuck. To be fair, because fairness is something I still attempt even when others don't. Claire and my son Mark had moved in 6 months earlier, while their house went through extensive renovations. I put those words in quotes because I've seen glaciers move faster than their contractor. I didn't mind them being here. Truth be told, after my wife passed, the house had grown too quiet. Hearing footsteps upstairs, voices at dinner, even the occasional slamming of cabinet doors, those things soothed some part of me I didn't know was aching. But Claire came with rules. Endless rules. Somewhere along the way, she seemed to have appointed herself the curator of my well-being. No caffeine after 6 because it disrupts circadian rhythms. No salty snacks after dinner because of my blood pressure. And absolutely no cookies because sugar, in her words, was a silent killer. I began to feel less like a man and more like a government dietary project. But locking the pantry, that crossed a line. It happened on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesday is my sacred night for game shows, the kind where contestants scream over kitchen appliances they may or may not need. I had just sunk into my recliner, the fabric still warm from yesterday's nap, when I felt a craving for something crunchy. I shuffled into the kitchen, humming a tune I didn't recognize, reached for the pantry door, and click. The unmistakable finality of a lock meeting resistance. I froze, hands still on the knob, blinking at the door as if staring harder might magically open it. Then I noticed the little note taped neatly to the wood. In pleasant, teacher-style handwriting were the words, "For Grandpa's health, please ask Claire before snacking." Ask Claire before snacking. In my own house, I laughed once, a single sharp bark that surprised even me. Then I went to find the jailer. She was in the living room, perched on the edge of the sofa with her laptop, scrolling through what looked like organic vegan dog treats. I held the note between two fingers, like evidence in a murder trial. "Claire," I said calmly, "did you lock the pantry?" She looked up with a smile bright enough to power a small village. "Yes." "Good, you noticed." She spoke as if I'd discovered a scented candle she'd placed for ambiance. "We just want to help you make healthier choices, Grandpa." Healthy choices. I've survived a war, raised 2 boys, worked night shifts for 37 years, made payments on a house with interest rates that would cause today's generation to faint. I know how to make choices. But instead of launching into that speech, I simply said, "I appreciate the concern, but I don't need a lock." She stood, patted my arm, actually patted me, and said, "Oh, but you do. You snack too much. We're only doing what's best." I nodded, pretending to concede, but I already knew exactly what I was going to do. I may not be a handyman, but I was a machinist for 4 decades. Locks are puzzles, and puzzles are just invitations disguised as obstacles. When the house went quiet that night, I slipped into the garage and fetched my toolbox. 5 minutes later, not a second more, the pantry door was off its hinges, completely intact, clean as a whistle, leaning against the wall like minimalist artwork. I took one cookie, sat on a stool, let the crunch fill the silence, and then I wrote a note of my own. Big block letters, a message even someone as rule-obsessed as Claire wouldn't miss. "If you're going to treat me like a child, I might as well start redecorating like one." And under it, "Pantry is unlocked. Grandpa is too." I went to bed smiling, slept better than I had in months. At sunrise, Claire's scream shook the walls. "Mark! Mark! He took the door off!" My son thundered down the stairs like a man bracing for impact. Dad? Why? I sat at the table with a steaming cup of coffee I was very much not allowed to have after 6. Because I'm 76, I said. Not 6. Claire pressed a hand to her chest as if I'd personally offended the air she breathed. We were trying to help you. No, I corrected gently. You were trying to control me. Big difference. She opened her mouth to argue, but no words came. Mark looked from her to me with the expression of a man deciding which side of a sinking boat to stand on. You could have just talked to us, Claire finally muttered. I did. Her face went pink. She remembered. You didn't listen, I said. Silence followed. Long, heavy, stretching across the kitchen like fog. And then, unexpectedly, tears. Big ones. The kind that make a person look younger and sadder at the same time. I immediately felt a pang of guilt. I never wanted to make her cry. The girl has her moments, bossy, stubborn, convinced she knows better than everyone else. But her heart is good. Too good sometimes. So I stood, walked over, and gently tapped her arm in the same patronizing way she had done to me. Claire, I said softly, I know you care. I do. But I've lived a long time. I've earned the right to decide if I want a cookie. She sniffed, wiping her eyes. I worry. You're older and I don't want anything to happen to you while you're living alone. I don't want Mark to lose you. I don't want to lose you either. Her voice cracked and something inside me shifted. Claire, I said, worrying about someone doesn't mean you get to run their life. I appreciate the concern, but respect matters too. Let me enjoy the years I have left with dignity. And if that involves an Oreo or two, well, then that's between me and the cookie. She let out a shaky, embarrassed laugh. Mark pulled her close, relief visible in his shoulders. And that moment, right there, felt like the first honest conversation we'd had since they moved in. The pantry door stayed off for a full week, not because I needed rebellion, but because they needed the reminder. Eventually, Mark reattached it, with my permission, and without a lock. Now, whenever I reach for a snack, Claire still watches me like she's mentally calculating sodium levels, but she doesn't say a word. And every once in a while, she even joins me. One Oreo each. No locks, no notes, no battles. Just family. Imperfect, stubborn, learning as we go. And for a man my age, that's healthier than any diet she could have put me on.